Thank you, man. Appreciate you. Thank you for noticing.
As far as the teaching.
Oh yeah, no, of course. In addition to just being an MC and trying to keep the culture alive, and with the hope of keeping culture alive, I'm affiliated with a lot of different hip hop based nonprofits, right? So, I'm privileged to work with both Today's Future Sound, which is a beat making nonprofit. We teach kids beat making, digital music production, the history of hip hop, DJing, all throughout the Bay Area and the rest of the world. But then also I'm the education director for a nonprofit by the name of Hip Hop for Change, which is a 501c3 based in Oakland, that we go through schools in the Bay Area and teach kids not only the history and the culture of hip hop, but then also try to tie it into how it's been used historically and currently as a means of social justice and gaining and creating community change, and fighting for communities of color all throughout the world. So yeah, it's a lot of stuff, man. The summer's been really busy just trying to put together programs and create curriculum and just being a hip hop educator, but then working on music at the same time. So trying to wear many hats.
Man, the hats those are, I'm impressed with the hats you chose to wear.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, they fit me. They fit me well.
That's great, man. So, how's the music been coming on besides the charity and everything else?
Yeah, no, music's been going really well. I've been blessed to have experienced enough in the last maybe year or so to really be encouraged and inspired to write and make beats, and you know what I'm saying. So in addition to writing rhymes, I'm a producer. So like I just been making beats, and naturally when I listen to beats as an MC, it's like you get inspired and you want to write. So I've been just working on a lot of music. I'm privileged to have the studio in my own house, so I just record out of my own house and then get it mixed for my homeboys and stuff. But last year we put out a project called I Saint, I Sinner, I Self that came out in September last year. So within the year, I'm already dropping my second album within the same year called Universes, that's coming out August 8th. So we've been ramping up for that, and I'm really excited about it. So I did most of the production on this one, but then I also got production from my homeboy Herbie One, my homeboy Chris Keys, who's really amazing. He's also added like some musician talent. I did a couple records with Jazz Mafia, who are based out of the East Bay. Really great musicians. And then my man DJ Saurus did a couple of records for me. So DJ Saurus, Jazz Mafia, like we just put together a lot of stuff, and it came out really, really good. I'm really proud of this project.
Oh man, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we putting it together nice, man. We actually having a album release party next Wednesday. The album drops Wednesday, August 8th, and we're having an album release party at Legionnaire. So that's gonna be exciting. We're gonna bring a couple of local hometown favorites. My man K Swift, DJ Spread, DJ Saurus, my homeboy Fifth P's doing a beat set. But then we also got some homeboys coming from the East Coast. My man Sky Zoo from the East Coast is coming out here. My man Landon Ward as well. So it's gonna be a really fun night. But we also celebrating the release of my album. That's at the Legionnaire, and it's gonna be a good time.
And when is that again?
That's Wednesday, August 8th. Wednesday, August 8th at the Legionnaire, downtown Oakland.
Man, then we have cool little shows and
yeah. Keeping it hip hop. You gotta keep it hip hop. You know what I'm saying? You gotta keep it within the culture and give a space and give platforms for local artists to emerge and to build. You know what I'm saying? And Legionnaires always show me nothing but love. Shout out to DJ Saurus. Shout out to my man Prozac Turner, who owns the joint. Like, they show me nothing but love anytime I've gone in there. I run a weekly hip hop event in San Francisco on Sundays, and we're trying to expand out to Oakland. So every second Wednesday we do a cypher. So August 8th is second Wednesday. So in addition to all the stuff that's going on, the performances, the album release, we're also going to do a cypher so MCs can come through and spit their bars and all that.
Do you guys ever put guys in the cipher and actually record them off that mic?
Oh, I mean,
actually make
you know what?
A real mixtape.
You feel me? No, I feel exactly what you're saying. And it was crazy is that I was thinking about that today, because when we think about hip hop, when we think about the history of hip hop, right? I always tell my students, hip hop existed 6 years in the Bronx without it being considered a genre of music. It was literally just a party. Right, the DJ was spinning records in a new way. People were dancing in a new way. You had the MCs who were stepping in and being party hosts and all of that. Right, so it started as a party. But so in order for you to listen to hip hop, if you weren't at the party, they had to record the actual party. right? So I was thinking of like having soundboard recordings of the cipher and having MCs get recorded, and we see what goes on and what goes down during the night. So you hear the DJ, you hear the live band, you hear all of that going on, and it plays like a concert. So you can listen to it, and it could actually be, like you said, like one of them old school, true school mixtapes, you know? So yeah, we're thinking about that, and probably put those out on SoundCloud and try to, you know what I'm saying? So people can recall like, oh, that was a really dope night, or it sounds like a really dope night. Let me go check it out next Sunday. You feel me?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's exactly an idea. So
I'm glad you actually mentioned the history of hip hop, because I was going to ask you, what is hip hop culture to you?
Well, let's first establish. I love that question. I appreciate that question. Let's first establish what culture is, right? When we think of culture, often we think about, oh, this is my Latino culture, this is my Jewish culture, right? We usually associate it with our ethnicity, right? Culture, as defined in the Webster's Dictionary, is the expression of human intellect or manifestations of human intellectual achievement. So basically, it's the way that human beings creatively express ourselves. So we're talking about art, we're talking about dance, we're talking about poetry, we're talking about music, we're talking about literature, right? So within the context of a hip hop party, a hip hop jam, the dynamic has always been, you have music being reinterpreted, you have dance being reinterpreted, you have emceeing, which is poetic language, right? You have the graffiti writing, which is art in and of itself. So the early founders of this culture recognized it for what it truly is, saying this is a culture. What we're doing is the expression of human intellect. It is an artistic form of human expression, so it is a culture, and it needs to be maintained as such. Yeah.
So how do you address when people say other people of different ethnicities acting black, or are they partaking in the hip hop culture?
Well, there is such a thing. You know what I'm saying? It can't be lost on us that there is such a thing as cultural appropriation. So when you have young white kids who may not be from the same neighborhoods that hip hop or the music that they listen to is being created and consumed, what you are having is cultural appropriation, because the statistic is like 3 or 4 white males or 3 or 4 white people in general do not have a personal friend of color, right? So the only way they get to know what people of color, particularly black people, look like, act like, and talk like are through media, right? Now, unfortunately, there are 3 media houses that pretty much put out the majority of hip hop music you listen to. And all of it is stereotypical. It's made to create this narrative of the black male in particular as hypersexual, hyperviolent, misogynistic, drug abusers, all of that. So when these kids are being given to they're being beamed this kind of narrative, they think it's entertaining, right? They think it's no different for them as an action movie, right? For us, it has real world consequences. Kids our age are going, you know what I'm saying? Kids in our communities are going to jail for acting a certain way. They're being locked up, they're being put in the ground because they're acting a certain way, right? That certain way, as destructive as it is in our communities, is being celebrated and is being promoted by 3 major corporations that do not have any vested interest in our communities or in our color or in our issues as black people. So these kids, their kids, I would argue and submit, are consuming this stereotype and then taking it on upon themselves. Now, unfortunately, how you want to act is how you want to act. You're grown. This is America. It's a free country. The problem is that they are glorifying a lifestyle that for us as people of color has detrimental consequences.
Absolutely.
Right? You know what I'm saying? Their privilege allows them to get away with acting in a certain way or talking in a certain way, quote unquote, ghetto or hip hop. You know what I'm saying? They hide under the guise of hip hop to basically appropriate culture.
So do you feel like they should be held to the same standards as our children should be when it comes to the sagging of the pants, the way that they talk and they act in the public, the things that they carry?
No, I mean, I think both our children as well as their children need to be educated on where these trends come from, right? Like sagging of the pants comes from gang culture. Gang culture, but not only gang culture, but prison culture.
Absolutely.
Prison culture, right? So I don't think a lot of our kids know that.
Right.
I think our kids do it because they saw the older homies doing it. They see the OGs do it. They've seen generations of people who look like them do that, but they don't understand where it comes from. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's about putting them on game and having that intergenerational communication. Here's where this comes from. Is that something that you want to represent? Is that how you want to be represented? I do work a lot in the juvenile detention centers, and we constantly talk about how do you want to be represented, whether it's in this complex that you're in or on the outs. How do you want to be represented?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And making clear distinctions between fantasy and things that are conducive to who you are and how you can be, or things that are detrimental.
And I think the sad part about all of it is we can sit and have conversations about this all the time, but it doesn't really affect us as well as other situations and circumstances until it hit home.
Right, of course.
And I'm going to tell you, I have a 10-year-old son as of yesterday.
Oh,
and when I
happy
asked
birthday.
him what he wanted for his birthday, he was like, casually speaking, well, just the things on my wish list. And I was like, well, what's on your wish list? And he's like, oh, some gold chains and some gold teeth. And I'm like, well, son, you don't even have all your adult teeth.
Yeah.
And you want gold teeth, you know? It's like,
Exactly. No, I'm going through the same thing. I have a 12-year-old son, and we over the last 2 years we've been arguing and dealing with the same issues.
How you wear your hair,
how you represent yourself,
and how you walk,
and he doesn't understand it. Like, you know what I'm saying? I had to really explain to him, and I had to have what they call the talk, right, with young black men, with young children of color, young black kids, right? They have to have that conversation that how you're represented can have detrimental effects on you, and especially in this climate where police are shooting young black men indiscriminately because they're being viewed as a threat. Part of them being viewed as a threat is them adhering to and being complicit in the stereotypes that have been framed against them.
Right.
Right. So the cop who sees you in the mall acting out of sort or sees you dressed a certain way, that his interpretation of who you are is based on all these other things that may have nothing to do with you.
Absolutely.
My 12-year-old boy is a very good kid, right? Everybody's going to say their son is a good kid. My 12-year-old boy is a good kid, but he could obviously be viewed as a threat in the way that he represents himself in the street. So it's a delicate dance.
I definitely want to continue talking about this topic specifically because I just took my kids to see Blind Spotting. But we're going to tune in some music right now.
Indeed.
We're going to come back to it. Blind Spotting is a good one. Y'all seen it?
Yeah, I saw. I was there at the premiere.
You seen Blind Spotting? You seen the movie Blind Spotting?
I appreciate your articulation.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Very
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah, Blind Spotting. I had to take my kids on Sunday to go see it. And I had to have the
So it's okay to take kids?
He asked her that. He asked my son his age, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, 10-year-old. No, I think a 10-year-old could understand. There's nothing graphic in it.
Okay,
No,
good. That's
it's
what
not
I
saying?
that.
Yeah,
It
there's
was
nothing
more
graphic
of
in it.
having that conversation of
It's
why.
like it's heavy. It's you know.
And my kids picked up on it real easy.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? They break down what blind spotting is in the movie, and for you to have a conversational piece. You know what I'm saying? Then they talk about my kids saying, well, the whole concept of blind spotting comes from like those ink blot tests where you may see one thing and I see another thing, you know, but they both exist in that mural, you know, but you're choosing to see something one way.
Listen.
And you're going to choose, and whatever your heart of hearts see first is going to be what you always see. It's going to be hard to see the other thing. So then I asked my kids, like, well, how does that affect you living in society if people in the society tells you that black people are bad or black people are that's the image that they hold of you. So when you walk in the streets, you got to remember other people may see you as a threat. Somebody's going to clutch their purse. Somebody's going to walk on the other side of the street.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So when you look at all your actions, you can't just say, oh, I'm just a regular person. No, you got people with a strong eye, basically, looking at everything that you do, how you do it, what you do after that. You know?
Right. And it's unfortunate because kids don't realize they just want to be themselves. They don't want to hold on. You know what I'm saying? That speaks to the generational gap, right? This current generation coming up doesn't want to assume the baggage of all these previous generations. They just feel they feel that they're in this very consumer capitalist culture where they can just be them.
And then they say, well, that was then, this is now.
Right.
It's that mentality.
Yeah.
We don't
apply to me. Right, exactly.
And that was slavery. That don't have nothing to do with me.
Exactly.
You know, yes, it has everything to do with you.
Yeah.
Came from that.
Exactly. And how people perceive you now is based on all of this other stuff. It's based on this tension. It's based on these perpetual stereotypes that have been consumed and accepted, right? A lot of the things that we deal with are accepted. We are accepting certain stereotypes, or at least certain races are accepting certain stereotypes of other races.
I think there's a fine line, though, of how you raise your kids based off of that information, though, too. Because you go too far to the left or too far to the right.
Yeah.
Then, is he coming back up?
I think we're going back up. Yeah. Yo. Oh, no, we still doing music. Still playing music. Yes. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. What's good?
Back. 94.1 KPFA. 89.3 KPFB in Berkeley, 88.1 KFCF in Fresno, and 97.5 in Santa Cruz, y'all. How y'all doing tonight?
We all over the place.
All
Peace
over.
to everybody. Happy Friday to everybody, all the late listeners and all that.
They can also tune in to kpfa.org.
Yes.
Online and catch that live stream, y'all. We talking about some real talk.
Yeah,
realness.
Yeah, indeed.
Talking about the fine lines of raising our children in
our children black in America.
Black in America,
you know
absolutely.
It's crazy. It's
unlearning
really
the truths and the things that were told to us that we finding out
Always.
aren't true.
Exactly. You know, and that's where I get my rap name from. Unlearn the World is because I saw the movie Higher Learning when I was maybe 13.
Oh
right?
my God.
Yeah, it was great music. You know what I'm saying? John Singleton make you mad at white people for like a week after you see his movies, right? So I watched this movie when I'm 13, right? Fast forward 20, years later, I'm 26, and I watched the movie again. And it has the same effect on me as it did when I was 13. Just like the whole travel, the journey that this young man is going through, being a young black man, being accepted into college, first person going to college in his family, and all the racial issues that he has to deal with and combat with. And at the end of the movie, in big bright red letters, it says unlearn. So when I saw that at 13, I was like, that's really dope. That's an interesting term, right? When I was 26, I saw it again and it had this really big effect on me. So I said, all right, I'm gonna take on that name as a rap name. You know what I'm saying? I was already being called that was my just like a short UN, right? But then I said, I'm gonna use unlearn. That's gonna be it. And then my favorite song is the song "The World Is Yours" by Nas. So I took the last word of my favorite movie and the first words of my favorite song, put them together to create a mission statement, right? So that you can't change anything in the society until you change the heart and the mind of what you see in the mirror every day.
I love it.
You know what I'm saying? We have to break down our societal conditioning. You know what I'm saying? Bad habits. I teach my kids all the time, like stories instill narratives, right? So if you grew up with the narrative, hypothetically speaking, of don't go into dark corners, right? That's the narrative that you're told. Don't go into dark corners. You hear stories about not going into dark corners, staying away from dark corners. They're going to hurt you. Things are going to happen to you if you think bad things are going to happen to you if you're around dark corners. Now replace the term dark corners with black male. Right? If you grow up being told the black male is X, the black male is Y, black people in general are X, Y, and Z, Latinos in general, X, Y, Z. Oh, don't go down that block. Don't go in that neighborhood. Right? Coded language, right? You know what I'm saying? You grow up with this accepting of this narrative. Image. It becomes a societal, it becomes a condition that you accept. And you can't move past it until you start breaking down or unlearning that conditioning.
Absolutely.
You understand what I'm saying?
The blind spotting.
Exactly. Just like the movie Blind Spotting, which was an amazing movie.
If you all have not seen Blind Spotting, is locally produced by Oakland's own native of Oakland.
Yeah, David Diggs and I forget the other brother's name, but yeah,
the movie was amazing and very appropriate for me to take my kids to. A great conversational piece, for you who want to bring awareness to your children and let them know that it's not about how you act, it's how people perceive you.
Absolutely.
Perception is everything.
Perception is reality.
We can all be standing in the same room and Giggle stand in one corner, Chill Status stand in another corner. We all take a corner and we all going to see different things and elements in this room that you can only see from your corner.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Giggle's going to say, hey, I see this screen. And I'm like, well, I can't see that computer screen from where I'm at.
True.
But that perception means everything. And it's hard raising our children to realize that it's not how they or the image that they put out into the world, but it's how the world perceives them.
Exactly. But then it's also broadening your own perception. Right?
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like we're given narrow perceptions that we accept. You can't grow up to be certain ways. You can't grow up to be certain things, right? You can't leave your neighborhood. You can't leave your block. You got to be loyal to this. You got to be loyal to that. We're told how to act. As young black men, we're given conditions on how we should be acting. What are patterns of black masculinity? How we have to fit into those stereotypes. You know what I'm saying?
How do you feel those are linked to the perpetuated fears that are passed on from generation to generation to generation? When you have parents and aunties and cousins who was maybe, molested or touched and stuff, and they tell you, well, don't do this and don't act this way. And girls, I grew up in the South in the Bible Belt, and I always wore shorts underneath my skirt. It's certain ways that a woman behaved and carried themselves. And it's like, I'm a lady. And you don't do this because you don't want to put yourself in harm's way. And it's like, well, what am I doing wrong that would prevent, put me in a situation where somebody would violate me.
Well, yeah, I think unfortunately it's not that you would do anything wrong. I think what
But
we're
that's
dealing,
that's
you're
the
dealing with
image.
you're dealing with two things. You're dealing with white supremacy and you're dealing with patriarchy, right? I walked in here with an N white supremacy shirt on. I've been wearing it all day. I've been getting compliments on it all day, right? Because people recognize that that's intrinsically what the problem is, right? And yeah, it could seem mutually exclusive from what we're talking about right now, but ultimately white supremacy is contingent on the idea of black inferiority.
Absolutely.
It's contingent on the idea and the acceptance of the idea that somehow black people are less than, or people of color are less than.
Absolutely.
Right? And if we accept white supremacy, we are then accepting our own inferiority.
When you go back and think about the letter that Willie Lynch read at the lake,
Yeah.
okay,
Mm-hmm.
when he breaks down how we are supposed to be treated and how he even tried to break down
100.
us within each other,
Exactly.
light skin against dark skin, you know,
For real.
the male against the female. And they say in this self, if you break down the male,
Mm-hmm.
you can take control of the household, you
Right.
know. And so what they have been doing, throwing all the males in the prison systems, throwing everybody. It's a modern day slave system
Absolutely.
anyway.
But then further to that, they financially incentivize females not to have a male in the house through the welfare system,
Absolutely.
through food stamps, all of that. You make more money getting cash aid and getting food stamps than what you would get if you had a male in the house who, because of the societal conditioning of criminalization and all of that,
Mhm.
it's a lot harder for black males to get jobs than any other kind of person on this earth,
Absolutely.
like, with the exception of the black woman, I would say. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot hard. You know, it's for real. I mean, it's a lot harder for black men to get a job than any other person. Our threshold for being exceptional is so much higher, and we have to cross so many boundaries, especially if you've been in trouble with the law, you have a felony on your record. You know what I'm saying? How many people have paid their debt to society but still have to pay it time and again when they fill out them job applications and they
Right.
ask if you a felon, right? Just like they were saying in the movie Blind Spot,
Right.
right? Like, you know, there's a person who feasibly could have had a bright future, but because of that felony, it changes everything. It
Hanging
changes
over your head.
right. It changes your
How you look at yourself, how you look at
Mhm.
society, how you look at the people, and ultimately it's going to affect how you carry yourself.
Absolutely,
You
and
know?
also how society looks at you. It's both ways. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And it's in order to break that and dispel that myth, you have to start acquiring a love of self and be in a space of abundant self-love. You can only do that by breaking down the condition and the accepted conditioning of inferiority. But you do that by learning history. You do that by learning your history. You learn the contributions of people who looked and acted just like you and what they've done for society, how they've put things forward in the human architecture and the human tapestry in order for us to be a great people. You know what I'm saying? And if you want to get conspiratorial about it, you then learn about how the people in control basically co-opted your entire history and in your entire spirituality and your entire traditions and used it so that you can.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It gets really
Right.
deep.
It's one thing when you think about the fact how the Bible was created to guide and lead us,
Yeah.
but then it was against the law for us to know how to read. So
Ooh.
then you had to worry about what was told to us
Yeah.
because we didn't know how to read from the beginning.
For real.
You know,
That's
so
crazy.
We can continue this. I can talk about this all day. You feel me?
Yeah. Music break.
Absolutely.
We playing one of my music? We playing one of my records?
We're gonna play one of yours.
Okay, I think this is Sorry Not Sorry though. Let's get into that.
Yeah, we're gonna get into this. This is WHAP WAP, where hits are played. You listen to 94.1 KPFA in Berkeley, 89.3 KPFB in Berkeley, 88.1 KFCF in Fresno, 97.5 K240B on Santa Cruz, and online at kpfa.org.
I can talk it up with you all night.
Word.
Real talk.
Yeah,
People don't like to
It's
have
deep.
a real conversation.
appreciate you.
It's a great conversation.
It's conversations that need to be had, right?
Gotta pull some music.
Yes. So I want to make sure we keep the music breaks on because I want to keep you on longer. That way.
Okay.
Instead
Yeah,
of just
yeah.
one big, instead of one long moment and another long moment, I'd rather have you on
That's
several
fine.
times.
I'm perfectly fine.
I love the dialogue.
Thank you. Hey.